Empty to become whole. A motivational story about surrender and growth. The morning sun was only beginning to stretch across the horizon when Arjun woke up, drenched in sweat. His chest heaved as if he had run a marathon, though he hadn't moved an inch. The dream had returned again, the one where he stood in a vast desert holding a golden bowl that slowly cracked in his hands until it turned to dust. He sat on the edge of his bed, his breath uneven. For months now, life had felt like that dream. Everything he once held close seemed to slip through his fingers. His job, his relationship, his sense of direction. At 34, Arjun had thought he knew what success meant. He had a high-paying corporate position, a sleek apartment overlooking the city, and the admiration of people who saw him as the man who made it. But deep down, he felt hollow. Each achievement brought a spark of pride, then faded into silence. He kept filling his life with more work, more possessions, more distractions, yet the more he filled, the emptier he became. The breaking point one day, in the middle of a tense board meeting, Arjun's mind simply stopped. As his colleagues argued about numbers and strategies, he stared blankly at the table's reflection. It felt as if he was watching himself from afar, like a stranger living someone else's life. When his boss called his name, Arjun couldn't respond. His voice failed. His thoughts scattered like leaves in the wind. Moments later, he stood outside the office building, unable to remember how he got there. He took a long breath and whispered, "I can't do this anymore." That evening, he packed a small bag, turned off his phone, and left the city behind. No plan, no destination, just movement. He drove for hours until the skyline gave way to mountains and forests. Eventually, he stopped at a small village at the foot of a hill. There was an old monastery there. He'd heard of it once long ago, a place where travelers came not to find something, but to lose what no longer served them. Arjun wasn't sure what he was searching for. He only knew he had to stop running. The place of stillness. The monastery was quiet, simple, surrounded by the scent of rain and pine wood. The monks there welcomed him with smiles that carried no questions. The head monk, Master Rinzin, was a man with kind eyes and an ageless calm. He offered Arjun a place to stay and said only, "Here, we learn how to empty what is full." Arjun didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. Days passed, then weeks. He swept the courtyard, washed dishes, chopped wood, and sat in silence during the morning meditations. At first, the quiet was unbearable. His mind screamed with memories, worries, unfinished business. Every moment of stillness brought a flood of thoughts. You're wasting your time. You have a career to fix. People will forget you. He tried to meditate, but all he felt was frustration. "What's the point of sitting here?" he once asked Master Rinzin. "My thoughts never stop. I can't empty my mind." The old monk smiled. "Who said you must stop your thoughts? The river never stops flowing, yet it never forgets its path." Arjun frowned. "Then what should I do?" "Watch," the monk said. "Just watch, without trying to control." The inner mirror in the following days, Arjun tried to simply watch. He noticed how restless he was, how often he judged himself, how much he feared doing nothing. Each sunrise began to look a little different. Each breath became a little softer. But he still couldn't shake the feeling of being lost. One evening, after everyone had gone to sleep, Arjun walked to the nearby lake. The moon was bright, reflecting perfectly on the still water. He picked up a small stone and threw it. The reflection shattered instantly. As he watched the ripples fade, something stirred within him. His life had been like that lake, constantly, disturbed by the stones he kept throwing, goals, fears, expectations. He realized he had never allowed his inner waters to be still long enough to reflect who he truly was. He sat down by the shore and whispered, "I've been trying to fill my life with everything except peace." For the first time in years, tears came, not of pain, but of release. He didn't try to stop them. He let them fall one by one into the quiet lake. The emptying over. The next few months, Arjun embraced the rhythm of simplicity. He stopped trying to find meaning and allowed meaning to find him. Each morning, he rose with the sound of temple bells and the scent of incense. He worked with his hands, spoke little, and learned to listen. One day, as he was cleaning the temple garden, Master Rinzin approached him. "You look lighter," the monk said. "Tell me, what have you learned?" Arjun thought for a moment. "I think I've learned how little I need," he said. "When I stopped chasing, things began to come on their own." The monk smiled. "Good. But remember, emptiness is not nothingness. It is space. The more you empty, the more room there is for truth to enter." The storm a few weeks later, a powerful storm hit the valley. The monastery's roof began to leak and the river nearby swelled dangerously. Everyone worked through the night to protect the temple. Arjun helped carry supplies, but his mind was heavy. The storm outside seemed to mirror the storm within. Old fears resurfaced. "What if this peace doesn't last?" he thought. "What if I go back to the world and lose it all again?" When dawn came, the storm passed, leaving the valley soaked and silent. Arjun walked outside and saw a large tree that had been uprooted, lying across the path. But beside it stood another tree, still firm, its branches wet but unbroken. He looked closer. The surviving tree had bent with the wind, not against it. In that moment he understood. Strength is not resistance. It is surrender. The return months later, Arjun knew it was time to return to the city. Not because he wanted to reclaim his old life, but because he no longer feared it. He bowed to Master Rinzin and said, "I feel ready." The monk placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember," he said softly, "you are not returning to the world. You are bringing the stillness with you." When Arjun returned, everything was the same: traffic, noise, people rushing. But something inside him had shifted. The chaos no longer consumed him. He worked again, but without attachment. He loved again, but without fear. He found beauty in small things: the steam rising from a cup of tea, the laughter of a stranger, the pause between two breaths. He began teaching others, not through lectures or grand advice, but through the quiet example of presence. Colleagues noticed something different in him. They called it confidence, but it wasn't confidence, it was peace. The lesson years later, Arjun visited the monastery again. Master Rinzin was older now, his steps slower, his eyes just as calm. They sat together by the same lake, watching the reflection of clouds drift across the surface. "I used to think emptiness meant loss," Arjun said. "But now I see it means space, the space to receive life fully." The monk nodded. "A cup that is full cannot receive more tea. The mind that is full cannot receive truth. Only when we are empty can we become whole." Arjun smiled. So emptiness was never the end. It was the beginning. "Yes," the monk whispered. "The beginning of everything real." They sat in silence. The wind moved gently across the water, but the reflection did not break this time. Reflection, in a world that tells us to gather, to chase, to fill our lives with achievements and possessions, we forget that growth often begins with surrender. We try to hold on to everything: our plans, our pride, our fears, believing control will keep us safe. But true peace does not come from holding on. It comes from letting go. When you let go, you don't lose yourself. You meet yourself. When you empty your mind of noise, your heart begins to speak. When you stop chasing wholeness, you realize you were whole all along. So if life ever feels like it's falling apart, remember, maybe it's not falling apart. Maybe it's falling open, clearing space for something greater to grow.